start with my introduction as we wait for some potential further participants to join. So welcome everybody to the Innovation Cafe. Today's topic is about is called From Natural Playgrounds to Floating Gardens. It's an example from Poznan in Poland. Natalia is the speaker today, and we'll talk about this these small-scale nature-based solutions. I am Svenja Schuchman from Connecting Nature team. I will facilitate this question. I just want to remind you that this Innovation Cafe will be recorded. I will ask you to mute yourselves if you're not speaking. I will have a look at the time because these are concurrent sessions, so we have to finish punctually. And after Natalia's introduction, you will have the possibility to pose your questions. You can just unmute yourself, put on your video, and join us here, so to speak, on stage, in parentheses. That's it from my side. I'll give the floor to Natalia.
Thanks, Svenja. Thank you very much. As Svenja said, I am going to speak today about our small-scale nature-based solutions that we introduce in the city of Poznan, Poland, in the frame of the Connecting Nature project, in which we are one of the front-runner cities. At the beginning, maybe I would like to introduce a bit our city and our situation as the city. We are the city of over 550,000 inhabitants who live on a quite densely urbanized area. So even though our city is perceived in Poland as a green city, there are areas that the greenery is not at hand, as we can say. When we entered the Connecting Nature project, we made some kind of a diagnosis about the way that we should promote and improve and implement the nature-based solutions in our city. And we came to the conclusion that the way that we have to follow is that to have the systemic way of upscaling our small-scale nature-based solutions. The systemic way is the key for upscaling the positive effect of the nature-based solutions that we have in Poznan to improve their ecological, economic, and social aspects, and also to tackle the climate change that we are facing in the cities. We chose 4 nature-based solutions that I am going to talk a bit today about: the natural playgrounds in kindergartens, eco-demonstrators, also open gardens, and floating gardens. So they are the small-scale nature-based solutions that we are implementing in Poznan in a systemic way. Our way of developing nature-based solutions has 3 steps. The first is making the pilot projects. So, for example, with kindergartens, we started with 3 kindergartens that implemented the natural playgrounds. Then we are slowly upscaling the nature-based solutions and promoting them among inhabitants of the city, also the stakeholders of our nature-based solutions. We can see the education is a very, very important part of this process. And the third stage is trying to introduce the systemic approach. So the upscaling has to lead to certain changes of the system all over the city. What is quite important, the co-creation is a key factor that we find important in our work, because it improves social responsibility for environment, and it also improves the responsibility of people for the nature-based solutions. I will start with natural playgrounds, which was actually our key flagship nature-based solutions that we started with in 2018. And I will show you some pictures now telling what actually the natural playgrounds are. So natural playgrounds are more like gardens to play than a typical playground. So among the traditional playing facilities, we introduce playing facilities that are made of living plants, We replace artificial safety surface with natural surfaces, and we introduce greenery that increase biodiversity in these areas. Here you can see
Sorry, I wanted to increase the volume and I think I accidentally kicked out Natalia. I'm really sorry. So I hope Natalia joins back in. Sorry about that. Okay. Her colleague is writing in the chat that she'll be back in a moment. Okay. Then we'll just wait a bit. Or, yeah, there she is. Natalia, I kicked you out. I'm so sorry. I wanted to increase your volume and I just kicked you out. But you are back. That's super. I won't fiddle with anything anymore. Just don't forget to put your micro on. Close. Yeah.
I just don't know, but I hear myself twice. Okay, I think I know.
I just hear you once. I don't hear an echo. For me, it sounds good.
Okay, so I will try to share. I don't know where I finished, Svenja, so maybe I could.
You were talking about the playgrounds and how you want also see that the biodiversity is included in these natural playgrounds. Okay. Yeah, that's what.
So here you can see. I hope that you saw the. Also, here is one of the presentation of one of our kindergartens as it looked before, and now how it looked during the investment process and how it looks actually now. So you can see that the natural solutions were brought as the devices for fun and education as well. Here you can see more of them. What is actually quite important is that we increased from 3 kindergartens to actually 20 now. So we came in a quite of this upscaling and systemic way of improving the gardens and the playgrounds in the kindergartens. And we just have appetite for more, of course. What is quite important is that the gardens have a positive effect not only for the kids in the kindergarten and for the aesthetics of the place, but also that very often they are the only green areas in the densely urbanized parts of our city. So it's also a positive effect for the local ecosystem. And it also has a positive effect for the economy because, you know, the architects and the people who are the craftsmen who do those things for us, they actually meet some new way of business. So natural playgrounds, you can see, are also co-created with and teachers are educated about the role of the natural playgrounds as well. And kids are involved in designing the natural playgrounds, which is quite important for us. Here you can see how we are blending together. Eco demonstrators are the second nature-based solution that we introduce in line with the natural playgrounds, because we find that education is very, very important when it comes to implementation of nature-based solutions. Eco demonstrators are very interesting devices to show children how nature works in reality. Here you can see different eco demonstrators like flower bed or hotel for insects that children during their play, they can also explore and learn how the nature works. we also complete the investments, this kind of investment in the gardens with this screen, with the scripts for teachers to show them how to teach children about nature in a very relaxing and interesting way. Okay, so open garden is the third nature-based solutions that is quite, I think, the most difficult and the most complicated that we found, because it's linked with the idea of opening institutional green spaces to citizens. We just we took the experiment of providing like unusual users, neighbors, for example, of one of the kindergarten. We provided them with the possibility of using part of the kindergarten garden just outside of the kindergarten working hours. We see that very often the institutions have very attractive green spaces in the city, but they are like restricted to certain groups of people. And actually, we came to the process of opening of such spaces, which is quite challenging at the beginning, because we need, from the very beginning, we need the openness of a manager of such a place, but also we need to set and co-create common rules of opening of such places. We did it in one of the preschools, preschool number 42 in the city of Poznan, and we just selected like one part of their huge garden, which is now open to neighbors or to organizations that can use it actually in different times that the kids use it. So, for example, during weekends or in the afternoons. It's a very interesting idea. We are not now trying to make it, to pilot it in a different way with the allotment gardens in Poznan. And here you can see some very attractive times that people spend in the garden. And the last but not least, the fourth nature-based solutions are floating gardens in Poznan. So the idea of floating gardens is very interesting because it addresses the citizens of our city who are not humans, so mainly the water birds. We just saw that the water is very attractive for inhabitants of the city, especially when the Poznan people are coming back to the river, but it doesn't have positive effect on the water birds. They need some space, they need some safety to breed, and actually floating gardens, this small infrastructure that we put on water is the best way to give them such places. Here you can see how these devices are being done. It's very interesting. Here you can see the picture that shows such a floating garden just 1 month after it was done on the river. And here you can see the comparisons. On the left you have the first year, and on the right you have the second year. You cannot even see it because it's grown up so much. Here you can see also the comparison. The floating gardens, they have a very important ecosystem importance, because they are filtering water and they are filtering air. So they also provide the breeding place for birds, but they are also shelter for the underwater creatures, especially when the time is very hot. So it's a very, very positive aspect of the floating gardens. Here you can see again the pictures. We just decided on the river, but we also think about systemic approach of putting floating gardens also on other water reservoirs in Poznan. For example, the park ponds. And here you can see the event of putting the floating garden on a park pond in one of the parks. You can see that it's a co-working, because there are some people need to be involved to do it. This is how we did it actually. You can see that the huts for ducks are already prepared and put on the water. And here is how it looks like in the autumn. So it's already very interesting. It's not only attractive for people visiting, but it's also useful for the birds, and I think that it might be really systematically upscaled in our city. And thank you very much for my presentation. I am looking forward to some kind of discussion. Yeah.
Super. Thank you very much, Natalia. Really interesting and so, yeah, very inspiring presentation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome. Would any of the like to ask Natalia a question to one of the nature-based solutions she presented? So you can just mute yourself and unlock your video. Somebody?
Yeah, there is Tamas.
Tamas has entered our panel.
Hello, can you hear me well?
Yes, please pose your question.
Yes, thank you for your presentation, Natalia. Very nice. I like that, especially floating gardens. My question is to you that if you had any estimation of the water quality before and after of these devices, or if you are planning something to do like that.
Well, actually, it's still at the stage of pilot projects, and you know, we are cooperating with the foundation called On Water from Wrocław, another Polish city. Maybe they have some kind of estimations like that because they are doing some floating gardens already in Wrocław. Actually, for us, the idea is still very fresh, so we didn't think about it. But as we are also focused on the this scientific part of the nature-based solutions, so maybe exactly this could be a good solution for this.
Thank you. We have some questions in the chat. Carol McLean asks if there are any issues with vandalism.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, that's also one of the characteristics of our work with nature-based solutions in Poznan, that we are mainly working with the institutions. So when we work, for example, with the kindergartens, then we are sure that that the kindergartens take it under their I don't know, care, even when the project when our project is over. Of course, you know, in certain areas of our city, the vandalism means actually the visits of certain groups of people in the afternoons and in the nights. So this is something that we cannot actually avoid. But we also perceive, when we talk with the directors of the kindergartens, for example, that actually nothing really bad happened. So maybe you know, when it's not that attractive to vandalize, if you can call it like this in English. When it comes to floating gardens, which are actually in the public space, well, here maybe the fact that they are on the water is quite, you know, restricting people from destroying it. But actually, luckily, we haven't observed anything like this by now. I hope this answers the question.
Thank you. I'm taking one last question from the delegates, and then I see there are a few more questions in the chat, and I'm sorry we won't be able to answer all of these now, but maybe you can also contact Natalia directly over the Hop-in platform, and she can answer, and you can get in touch with her there. So now I'm asking Callum Duncan to pose this question.
Hi, Natalia. Thank you for
Hello.
that. That was very interesting. I especially liked how the nature-based play was, where we're using nature-based play, often it becomes quite risky play. Whereas these are examples that don't necessarily need to involve great risks. But my question is really about, if I can do it very quickly, in Scotland, if someone is doing housing development, the housing developer needs to include an element of play. And quite often they are very typical, very traditional, a ring-fenced area with a slide and a swing, and they're not really taking a wider approach to the potential of nature play. I just wondered if these examples in Poland are very innovative, or whether people, how do people respond to them, or are they typical? Are there many other examples of that nature? And where are they in the sort of culture of play?
Actually, we had, I think, situation in Poland that there are people who are more attached to this classical way of play, especially when it comes to the safety features. Especially when it comes to the kindergartens, of course, because in the kindergartens, teachers are responsible for the safety of children. So we, as I said about promoting nature-based solutions, that is one of our very important issue in our work. We did it with the natural playgrounds, that we invited the teachers, the managers of all kindergartens in Poznan, and presented them the idea of the natural playgrounds. We presented them with the experience of 3 kindergartens from our pilot project, to convince them that actually it works, it can be done. And what was quite tricky, we also invited the company who gives safety, I don't know, certificate for such innovative, yes, it's still innovative way of playing. So yes, some of the managers followed our ideas. So we have already 20 kindergartens who followed it. Parents, I think, get more and more used to it, because it's sometimes not very comfortable for parents to see that their children are playing with mud or with water and they get dirty during their play. But I think that we are all coming back a bit to the way we played when we were kids. So it's just a way of promoting it, and we don't force people to exchange like classical playing devices to only natural. Sometimes we mix it. So it's just a way of there's also one very important thing, that our architect is co-creating the designs with the teachers and with kids. So it's like finding the compromise that is accepted by most of the end users.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colin, for your question. Thanks, Natalia, for this really wonderful presentation. And yes, we're coming to an end. I'm closing the session now, and I'm inviting you to have a look at our next innovation cafes.
Okay. Thank
Have
you
a great
so much.
day.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye-bye.